This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, Sandersonites? This is Steven, your host from Fantology, with my lifelong friends Josh and Ben, here to talk about the Sanderson secret projects that have been breaking the internet. I mean, it even made national news. I saw over the weekend, there was a little like CBS morning spot with Sanderson talking about how he wanted to be the next Stan Lee. That seems to be the next thing he likes to throw out there. So I mean, he's like a big deal.
This is not the first time you said that, but this is the first time you said it and people have paid attention. So
yeah.
Well, it's the first time you said it to people that already don't consider him kind of like Stan Lee. Because all the fantasy people are like, if they had to pick a Stan Lee of fantasy, it would be Sanderson.
Yeah.
But all the normies are like, who's this guy?
Nice Severance reference, Josh.
No,
I guess that's
Audis and Outies. Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started. Severance. Severance. Okay.
We're not doing that. Severance is another episode.
Ooh.
I'm not. Yeah. Personally, I haven't seen Severance yet, but you guys can talk about it. Anyway, Sanderson. So yeah, apparently someone at the Dragonsteel PR decided that Stan Lee was like the new thing for Sanderson, and it's great. It fits perfectly, and we'd love to see it. We obviously. But let's talk a little bit about the secret project. We already did an episode about like what it was, about how it was changing publishing, etc. He posted a really cool fact about like why he was doing it and what things he saw in the publishing landscape. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the contents of the projects 1, 2, 3, and 4. I thought we were just doing the Cosmere ones on this recording, so I haven't even read the second one. But we'll see how we do. Should we just kind of
slacked on his homework?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I'm ready to go with the Cosmere stuff, though. That's what I care about. I mean, I'll read all of this stuff, but the Cosmere stuff is what I'm here for.
Also, if you clicked on this, I'm assuming it's going to be full spoilers. Should we just full Cosmere spoilers? Like, obviously, we're not going to take time to spoil every little thing. Like, we're not going to say, we'll do as spoiler free as we can when it comes to like specific Cosmere books, but just assume that if you're not current on the Cosmere, you might get spoiled on something.
And fortunately, none of us, while we are big fans, none of us are super big experts on the Cosmere. So we're not going to know all of the details that you might be worried about having spoiled for you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So full spoilers, starting with Project 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is called Tress of the Emerald Sea, and it's inspired by Princess Bride. And Sanderson wanted to make a similar story, but from the perspective of like Princess Buttercup actually does things, and that's the Tress character. And we haven't necessarily seen that yet in the first 5 chapters, but it seems like, she's about to go off on her adventure after the prince has been kidnapped or forced off into this like weird courtship with a sorceress that just sounds really bad. So with all of that, what did you guys think of this one? How excited are you for number 1?
So I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed kind of the more ephemeral tone to it. I also thought that you could totally tell that it was a gift for his wife. You know what I mean? Like, this was not something that Sanderson would normally write, but he did say he enjoyed experimenting with the voice. And it is also told by Wit, which is also important, or by Hoyt, I guess. So that's cool that we get a Hoyt story out of this, and it's cool that he gets to experiment with different voices for Hoyt as well.
Yeah, and in terms of this one by itself, I really like the tone of it. I read, what was the Stephen King book read last year, Ben? The fairy tale one.
Oh yeah. Dragon's Eyes.
Yeah.
Eyes of the Dragon.
Eyes of the Dragon. Yeah, and this kind of had a kind of feel like that, whimsical fairy tale ish. I think that the Princess Bride is probably a better comparison, but this feels a lot more like a fairy tale. And still with Sanderson, you're going to get top-notch world building. It had a cool setting. She's stranded in the middle of the sea, but the sea is full of poisonous spores that will kill you if contacted. So you just get this,
they're trapped on the island.
Yeah, immediately well built out world with compelling characters that he establishes in the first few chapters of a book, is sometimes we take for granted how well Sanderson kind of nails the basics of these type of things. And there's, for sure, he doesn't do characters the best, and he doesn't do there's not, but they're all, he's done well enough that it's compelling for me to just pick up a book and start reading it and know that I'm going to kind of get the basics are going to be good.
These are also interesting because they're on the shorter side for Sanderson's works. They're not novellas, but they're shorter. And so he doesn't waste as much time, just like he does some info dumps. You know what I mean? Like in each of these, he does info dumps, which I enjoyed because it's been a while since we've gotten like a new Sanderson world. So I really enjoy getting those like snippets kind of a bit early.
Seem kind of fairy tale-ish to set the stage, I guess, with an info dump type thing. Like that's the fairy tale genre.
Yeah, for sure. It's also like these kind of more whimsical like set pieces. Like you have like the tea cups being mailed back and forth, and you have the son of a king and like the prince and the town girl. I did think it was interesting though, because somebody asked him if these characters were based on him and his wife, and he was like, well, they share a lot of the same attributes, but he also said that his wife has vetoed like appearing in any book that he writes. So I don't know, it's kind of like cutting a middle ground of like this was just supposed to be a present for her, so maybe he like did take like a bit more like liberties with writing her in than he might normally do. But
yeah, I probably wouldn't want to be written into a book by my spouse either. That just seems like there's potential for disaster there.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be eventually killed if your marriage goes through a hard time.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was okay. I don't know if I'm super crazy excited for it. I know it's a fairy tale, but it's like a little overly cheesy for my preferences. I like Sanderson's Cosmere stuff a lot more. Not this was Cosmere, but I'm more here for like the adult fantasy aspect of Sanderson with like the hard hitting themes and the cool magic and all of this. And this doesn't seem to have too much of that yet. I mean, I'm sure there will be some things, but it's not my favorite way to consume Sanderson.
Yeah. You're more like Shadows of Silence and the Force of Hell, and like, let's be chased by fades and figure out how to use salt to protect yourselves or whatever.
I mean, I think I'm more Stormlight Archive. Just like,
oh, that's fair.
It starts with the action.
I was just going for like the length of book that we're doing here.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, that's a good one, although I haven't read it for a while. Yeah. There were some Cosmere things. So one of the biggest speculation people have is who's the story being told to, because he hints at the end that you can pick up who it's being told to. And the most popular guess that I've seen on Reddit, people seem to like, is it's someone from Warbreaker because of the way that he describes all the color. I think there might have been some other reasons why that makes sense. And like I said, we're not probably going to be your best source of real deep Cosmere stuff, but
like visit 17th Shard for that.
Yeah. So we can report back that the people that know seem to think Warbreaker.
Yeah. And people have asked him like on a few of the live streams very color specific questions, and he was like, ooh, good question, Rafa. That was my Sanderson that time. So yeah.
He also, I think, has he confirmed this, or there's also a lot of speculation that this has to do with the Aethers. Like he wrote this story, I think Aether of Night, and it's not published yet, and it's this whole different magic system. And Mraize, your favorite world hopper from Stormlight Archive, has one of these Aethers, and we haven't seen them yet. They hold investiture on their own. It's like this whole different magic system thing, and the thought like is like these moons. Maybe I mean Chiri can like suck in investiture, but the Aethers like produce it on their own, or they like are investiture on their own. I don't know. We're probably gonna get that wrong, but I don't think we really know very much. And he, even if you've read the original draft of Aether of Night, I think he's going to be changing that when he finally publishes something. But the thought is this is related.
Yep.
The one other thing is that it references the Iriali people who are up in the northern part of Roshar, the ones that joined Odium in Rhythm of War. And it talks about how they had like left this planet, Tress's planet, 300 years ago. And apparently that aligns with the Iriali that we know of, because they have this like religious system where they're moving around or something. And this is like the fourth place. Roshar is like the fourth place they've been to. Anyway, I don't know if we know too much about that, but there's, some Roshar connection, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, that is super interesting. That's cool. Okay, so I think that's a good overview of the first one. Nothing too exciting, but also it's exciting. I think it's exciting to see Sanderson experimenting here.
Sure.
And so if nothing else, I can appreciate that. It definitely felt like there's one Wit or Hoyt story in every Sanderson novel, and this does feel like one of those just extended. Like The Girl Who Looked Up, or The Dog and the Dragon, or I forget the other ones.
The Wandersail one, or the Running one, whatever that one was called.
Yeah,
we're really big experts here.
Look, it's there's a lot to remember here.
Okay, so that's good for the first one. Josh has just rejoined us, but Josh, you missed your chance for the first one. We're done with that one. Should we go to? Do you guys want to talk about number 2 at all?
Let's do the Cosmere ones, and then if we have time, Ben and I will circle back to number 2.
Okay. So number 3 is called Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and it's a much more kind of like Asian comic manga type influenced thing going on here, and it's this cool setting where it switches back every chapter between Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, the two main characters, and they seem to be in drastically different places, but by the end, they've come together somehow magically. And he said in the end notes that the way the story is going to proceed is each of them has to learn the other's magic system in order to escape or like get back to where they were, or solve whatever problems are coming up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a body swap system, but it's not really body swap because they perceive themselves as being in their own body. Anyway,
this is Sanderson Does Freaky Friday.
Yeah, exactly. And so he said that it draws a lot from like 2 other sources, neither of which I knew. It was like Your Name or something like that, and I don't know, probably manga related things. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I imagine Sanderson just has like rock stacking videos that he watches to calm himself down, or like to help him sleep or something, and he just like harnessed that because he like described that so well, like all those rock stacking scenes.
Are there rock stacking videos?
You've never watched rock stacking?
No.
Seriously?
Is that a thing?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Ooh, you guys have a YouTube rabbit hole to go down.
That sounds pretty exciting.
You've never seen people stack rocks?
No. Like competitively, or just
these people just like they go out like in a river and get like different sized rocks. I mean, like you read the book, like you read the chapters. It is pretty much exactly like that. They build
the scene in the book was cool.
Yeah. So imagine that only IRL.
Can they really make as cool and intricate of stacks?
Yeah.
That Yumi was able to make?
Okay, let me just. You guys keep talking about this. I'll share a picture.
No. We're not going to mess with screen sharing in this.
I'll just put it on Discord.
We'll follow us on Discord, and you can talk about rock stacking with Ben. For now, what else was
premium content?
Really high
for
quality
the rock
stuff.
stacking.
Yep. The thing that I thought was most interesting was how futuristic this seemed to be in the way that he was telling the story. So I would assume that this is a like post Stormlight 5 situation, especially with Hoyd appearing with Design, his cryptic, on this different world. So they've made it off Roshar so far, which currently is not possible, but is something that the Ghostbloods are trying to do. So I would assume this is like Era 2.
We know it's kind of possible to get off Roshar.
Well, not for Spren.
Well, we know, yeah, okay.
Not yet.
I don't know if we knew that.
Well, Spren can definitely hang out in the cognitive realm, and they can just lock long enough and they'll be off Roshar, right? So
we haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure they're connected. Their investiture is connected to the planet.
I don't. This is something that I don't think. I don't want to say something because I'll probably be wrong.
People on Reddit seem to think that this is important.
You can't just invoke Reddit. All right.
Actually, no, that does give it more credence.
Yes, I can.
Because they would have gotten downvoted.
Yeah, Reddit knows all.
Reddit knows all. This is like
so you crowdsource your Sanderson
Wikipedia
knowledge.
articles.
No. Yeah, because like Josh said, you're downvoted if you just spew nonsense.
That's true.
Okay, so we're assuming that. Well, we always kind of knew that eventually they would be able to be successful, right? Like the eventuality of their success, whether it's the Ghost Bloods that do it or somebody else, like Sanderson has laid the groundwork for being able to have different magic systems being used in different worlds using different types of investiture.
He did that one reading of the sequel to Six of the Dusk where there's a lot of things going on, and obviously this is all going to come together at some point, which we see a lot in Secret Project 4, to be honest.
And in terms of the time period relative to our time period, I think somebody asked, he said that this is like post-industrial Japan, like maybe around the 1910s, 1920s, I think he said.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
So a cool setting, especially with era 2 of Mistborn wrapping up. Like it's cool just to, we talked about him being like Stanley, but in the other Marvel comparison is this kind of seems like he's transitioning from like a Marvel phase, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, it's kind of like he's transitioning into, phase 3 of his Sanderverse.
Well, you definitely, there's gonna, like, after Stormlight 5 and after Mistborn, or like the second era comes to an end, like he's wrapping a bunch of stuff up right now,
Yeah, this definitely seems like endgame type of situation. Maybe it's just because we're at the same point in both, but like that's a big enough transition for Marvel. This seems like a really big transition for Sanderson.
This almost feels like he's putting stuff out for after he finishes this era. Kind of like this is like introducing the next era of kind of moving into having more technologically advanced societies, a little bit more sci-fi going on, having the ramifications of what has happened previously play a big role. I'm excited for it. I'm here for it.
So to me, this also felt kind of like Warbreaker in the sense that like there's this, like woman who like has a lot of like not a lot of freedom, is kind of being controlled by a priest. She wants to perform her duties, but also has kind of like this internal tension. So I think that was kind of cool to see, although if it's too much like Warbreaker, I think that will start to diverge with the whole like body split thing. But it was, I was hoping that it wouldn't go too much further down that path.
I have two more little connections for you. Did either one of you guys read or watch the Shadow and Bone series?
No.
Yeah.
Seems kind of like that with like the darkness, like whatever they call that big
the
thing in whatever. There's in Shadow and Bone there's this big
a shadow
between the two lands that is totally dark, and if you go into it you're going to be attacked and killed brutally. There's monsters in there. I don't know that there's, well, I guess there's nightmares in this one,
well, that was a cool concept, like the whole like nightmares coming to life, and like that nightmare like stroking the 4-year-old's face. Man, that was some very cinematic, scary stuff right there.
Was it basically banishing a Bogart the way that he...
that's what I meant, not the Dementor, the Bogart. Yeah.
Well, Bogart with Dementor powers basically is what we have.
Or a Dementor with Bogart powers. That might be a better fit.
Well, a Dementor that can be vanquished as a Bogart.
Okay. Well, it's also crazy that these nightmares have like destroyed like the entire civilization.
This also seemed to me a bit like what are they what are they called in the second book of
Dresden?
No.
The second book of
the Golden Compass, and then the second book in the Golden of the series. Amber spyglass.
The amber spyglass.
Yeah, but do you know what I'm talking about? Like the when kids turn a certain age, they get attacked by the fades that are flying around.
Maybe. Honestly, it's been a little bit since I've read those ones.
Okay, sorry, that was probably a bad comparison, but it seemed pretty similar to that. So yeah.
The thing that I can't figure out is how the two sides are connected.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we know that. I don't know. One is light, one is dark. You know, are they both on Roshar or no? Because I didn't think they were, but okay.
They mentioned I thought they were.
No. Yeah, these are all new worlds.
Yeah,
definitely not Roshar at all.
Well, no, I think it might be in the same.
He said they were all new shard worlds.
Okay, I think that they might be in the same constellation or like a neighboring planet to Roshar, because he does talk about the Alethi.
So do you think that this could
like people? The Rosharan system doesn't have any more planets that could be inhabited. Like if you look at the map of things,
but we do know that they referenced Alethi, right?
People in the world.
Well, so what? Yeah, I guess that's the question. Like, who's he telling the story to? But he could be telling it to any world hopper, anyone who's familiar, because he uses like Nimi, which is what Zeth calls.
That was another reason why I thought it was going to be close to Roshar. Yeah.
So it could also be in the future where they've had a lot of people from Roshar travel to this world, right? That's also a possibility. So I don't know.
Yeah, he could just be like hanging out at Silverlight with all the world toppers and telling it to anyone really who's somewhat familiar.
What did you think about Hoyd being like Han Solo'd?
Trapped in time is what he said. Yeah.
It was totally a Han Solo type situation where he's like right. That was interesting. His eyes were open.
I think it was cool seeing characters that we previously thought were kind of invincible being brought to their knees a little bit. I mean, we kind of see that at the ending of.
And again, it was done by a cryptic Spren. Like the owner of that soup shop was a cryptic Spren.
That's design. That's Hoyd's Spren.
Oh, is that Alucard's?
It's Alucard's Spren.
Gotcha. So that I guess I didn't pick up on that.
The one that was gonna bind to Alucard that Hoyd picked up, right?
Yeah, that was the whole discussion about them getting off of Roshar.
Man, sorry. I only read this like on the airplane early in the morning, so I must have missed that.
So it's all good.
Yeah. There's a lot of details here. Yeah, no, design is the spread that Hoyd has bonded to, right? The cryptic from
Yeah.
And so they've made it off of Roshar, which Reddit thinks is significant.
So, but how was he trapped then? We don't know. I thought it was.
No, we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Said the cryptic painted him copper or some, design like helped with the disguise, but wasn't the one that did it. So he was
frozen before that or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. One other thing to note. So it mentions a shard called Virtuosity, which splintered herself. Apparently, this is the shard of this area. Okay, so on to number 4, which is called the Sunlit Man, which is, I think, the one that most people are going to be most excited for because everyone loves Stormlight. And here we have Sigzil doing a new adventure off years after. This is after Stormlight, this is after book 5. And the result of Stormlight 5, Sanderson said the result of Stormlight 5 is very important for what we're seeing here. So we're kind of like picking up the pieces and something big has happened. We can make like some conjectures after reading the first 10 chapters, but there's obviously still, a lot that has to happen. And he said there's like slight spoilers for what you're going to see happening in Stormlight 5, but he didn't seem to consider that big of a deal. So maybe that's like a commentary on what Sanderson feels about spoilers in general, because I mean, there's some stuff here. What did you guys think?
So I don't know how. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I should preface. I'm only like 3.5 chapters into this thing, so I was not able to finish it before recording. So
here's my thing. I don't know how if time travel is possible in the Cosmere, because it seems like this is pretty distant future compared to where they're at in Roshar.
He doesn't think of it as super distant. Like technology, do you say that because it seems like technology has advanced pretty dang far?
Yeah. In one person's lifetime to go from medieval technology, but they're on different.
He's got, I mean, so maybe you guys probably, I'm just going to make an assumption here. You guys might not have picked up on this, but what's happened is he touched the Dawn Shard, like he got connected to the Dawn Shard somehow.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why he's in the state that he is, because he can't attack anything, right? He refers to this as his torment. He cannot attack anything. This is why Hoid can't physically harm anyone, because he also held the Dawn Shard for some amount of time and was connected to it. So Sigzil either still has this connection, and towards the end, Ben, you haven't read this yet, but he gets kind of this like vision thing from Hoid going on, and Hoid says he kind of apologizes for what he did to Sigzil at the end of Stormlight 5. He doesn't say Stormlight 5, obviously, but he kind of refers to this like big calamity type event thing that put us at this state. And he references the Dawn Shard, and like this Night Brigade that's coming after him seems to be part of this as well. So we can kind of pick up some pieces here and figure Sigzil did something with the Dawn Shard at the end of Stormlight 5, and it was connected to saving Hoid and saving the Cosmere, because Hoid says like, you saved the Cosmere by doing this, yet you've kind of like damned yourself to this terrible situation you're in.
Yeah. So because it caused him to break his oaths.
Yes.
Sounds like.
Well, it either caused him to, or it was part of what happened. Like, we don't know that was the direct cause, but yeah, it definitely says he broke his oaths, and he's got this spren that's bonded to him auxiliary. I mean, we assume it's a spren. Seems like a spren, right?
I mean, it can transform into different shards.
Yeah. But he says he's dead, but he's not dead in the way that we're familiar with dead spren. Maybe because of the Dawn Shard connection, but also auxiliary doesn't really seem like a high spren or like an honor spren name.
We know that dead spren can take the form of a shard blade, and we know that they have some form of cognition because of it was what was the epic quote? Yeah, Maya, what was her epic quote? We chose this. We chose we chose or whatever. Yeah. So we know that there's some form of cognition. Or
they made that choice before.
Well, right, but Maya was able to know.
She might have been able to break through, but it like almost caused her to go insane. I mean, I wouldn't say
there's different levels.
Seems like having conversations with his friend.
Yeah, but it seems like Maya's getting some sort of consciousness back through her bond with Adolin or Adolin.
So you think that auxiliary just died and has come back in the same way that we've.
I think that there's different levels of being dead. I don't know, like of a spren that isn't fully bonded, but is getting some sort of substance through a nail bond.
I mean, I'm just questioning if this is an honor spren. Even auxiliary doesn't sound like an honor spren name.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know. To your time travel point, we know that time travel is not possible in the Cosmere.
You did say that, didn't you?
You said time travel is not possible and multiple dimensions are not possible. Okay. So we know that that's not happening.
So he was not really Stanley then.
He's not Stanley.
He's shutting down two huge Marvel things right there.
But here's the thing. I mean, different worlds for sure develop technology at different speeds. I mean, we also know for a fact that Sazed has said that he slowed down the rate of progression on the world of Mistborn because he Scadrial, because he made things too easy for them. So it's I mean, I think that if you're a world hopper, then you're probably going to see technology that's beyond your time, right?
And we know that Sigzil has been jumping from world to world, like this is part of what he has been doing. Yeah, skipping, right. But yeah, he knows about jet engines and rifles, and I mean those two things. I think there was something else. I mean, obviously he's like flying around on ships. Yeah. So he's seen a lot.
So one kind of critique that I don't know about critique. I've been like listening to all of Sanderson's live streams and all of like everything, and like hearing kind of all of his crazy, wacky like ideas. Like he talked about like falling cities and like just kind of all these like out there ideas that he's had. This definitely did seem like I have this kind of wacky idea for the city, like, and I'm just gonna like write about it, and then immediately afterwards write about like all like he's like, oh, Sigzil's trying to like stop himself from like thinking about all the ramifications of it, but he just can't help himself. I'm like, I could kind of see Sanderson writing himself in there a little bit, you know, where it's like, oh, if this is a city, how do they harvest things? How do they mine? How do they like they have to outrun the sun? Like what's the implications? And it was like a little bit like just kind of info dumpy, but also almost him writing himself in the book. I felt like.
And you didn't like that?
I don't know. I didn't dislike it, but I also, it's kind of like when the curtains pulled back a little bit, and I have been like listening to all things Sanderson, like I've been really in the weeds with it, and so maybe it's not fair for me to say that, you know, like obviously when authors this open about his process and like this open with all of his ideas, you know, it's hard for him to make things appear original when he's that, you know, open. So I'm not like faulting it. It did feel like this is just Sanderson like talking about one of his like crazy ideas, you know.
Also, I will say this is the first draft, and it doesn't seem like it's been through an editor. So there's that, you know, maybe that gets cleaned up through the editorial process or a second draft of like cleaning that kind of stuff up. That didn't really stick out that much to me, but I can see what you're saying with it.
There's a couple other Cosmere things. So the people that he comes across, he recognized them as being Threnodites. So Threnody is the place where Shadows for Silence takes place.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. And their names were really interesting. It was like, what was it? One of their names had Adonalsium in it.
Yeah,
that was
kind of a. Yeah, honestly, I thought that was weird and maybe a little cheesy. I didn't understand that.
Their names were like based off of concepts, like kind of how somebody would name their kid Faith or Hope or Charity.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we know that that's the case in Shadows of Silence too. So
yeah,
right.
I mean, so it'd be kind of like naming your kid God. I don't know,
or Jesus, or
that's
like,
true.
So we have
Joshua. That's my name. It's like a derivation of the Hebrew Yeshua. You know, like that's where Joshua comes from. So can't really fault them for that.
So we have that connection. I guess I don't know what to make of that really, other than, you know, cool. We have that system back in action, and then Ben, you haven't come to this yet, but he comes across this like Scadrian metal of some kind. It seems like some kind of key that these guys have, and they're going to use this to get underground and find refuge. So now there's thought of the Scadrians are around somewhere. So lots of, I mean, these are a lot of systems that are coming together here in this one. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, at what point is it too complicated? Like, at what point is it too much because Sanderson's got a really big reader base, a really big fan base. But, you know, how many of them are really in the weeds with even like knowing what the different systems are and knowing what the different magics are? Like, do they all really care about this, or are people more just kind of like there for the stories, and something like this could be too much? Like, I wonder how much thought he's put into this decision.
I think he's put in a lot of thought.
I'm sure. Yeah, I guess I'm sure he's put in a lot, but yeah.
I think that the main narratives are going to stay pretty tied to their own storyline. You know, like you are becoming more Cosmere aware, but like you could talk to somebody who just breezes through Stormlight and like doesn't even know Mistborn exists, doesn't get the connection, you know, the connection to Kelsey, or like doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
But he has said that it's gonna become more and more important.
Right. You know? But again, I think he's kind of taking his cue from comics. Like, you can read a comic storyline and like know you're missing a few things, but still like get a compelling narrative that you enjoy reading, like, and maybe miss out on some Easter eggs. Maybe a person's decision doesn't make all that much sense in the moment or whatever, but like you can still enjoy the issue. And so I think that that's kind of what it's going to be. And also, I think people backing Sanderson and Kickstarter, like I think that they are the ones that are in the weeds with it, and this does seem like a cool like thing to give to his
I guess
more hardcore fans.
34 plus million and counting, like doesn't lie.
And I really did. This is something, just expanding it out. I really like that he posted all of these chapters before the Kickstarter ended. So if somebody was like, I'm going to wait to see what these books are before I back him on Kickstarter, like they could get a taste and be like, you know what, maybe this is too in the weeds for me. Maybe I shouldn't back it, or they can cancel their backing.
I think you can also like deback something too. Like,
yeah,
I think
you can. I've done that before.
Yeah.
So like if it's before the Kickstarter ends, you can pull your backing. And so I think that's really, that was a classy move, of him to do. So, yeah.
So do you think we're not going to get the Avengers Endgame where all the characters come together and all of the, plot lines are there for at least one big movie?
Yeah, I think we will. But taking that same example, like if somebody didn't see Black Panther, then yeah, maybe it's like the finale is like 1/50th less powerful when they do the Avengers Assemble. Like they don't know who Black Panther is, but like as long as you generally know that there's other movies and you've seen a good amount of them, that moment's going to be pretty impactful.
But Josh, I think
don't know every character.
I think it's a little bit less. I think I see the comparison, right? Like obviously the comparison is there, but in a movie, you don't have to understand the magic system of Doctor Strange in the same way that you'd have to understand like allomancy. Like, it's like you can just watch Doctor Strange be cool and be okay with that. But like when you see, characters come over from other worlds and start using powers, you're going to be like, what is going on? Like, why can they suddenly push on metal? Or like if or if you had read Mistborn like 10 years ago, you'd be like, I remember that. And it's going to bother me that I don't understand what's going on.
And on the flip side, I don't think any of us want to read the Cosmere Endgame book and have it explained once again. He ingested steel and then saw the lines and he pushed on the metal. It's like, okay, we know what's going on. So he's got to kind of like walk the line somehow.
And
it's probably possible, right?
Well, and he's talked about how with the advent of like, honestly, this type of stuff, authors don't have to spend as much time reviewing it. He talked about like how Wheel of Time would have to spend like, 50 pages at the beginning of each book, basically explaining everything again, because people didn't really have resources to go and catch up. So it's, whatever video we make like 10 years from now, when the Endgame comes out, he's probably going to be relying on people like that to catch people up,
Oh, okay. Sanderson's relying on
got
us.
You, Sanderson.
Yeah.
We're carrying the weight of Sanderson on our backs.
That's right.
No
one else is making this content. Purely,
so I think that's a good point. But I think also, I have a coworker that's read most of the Cosmere, but she's not super into it, and so I'll talk to her throughout next year. And as these secret projects come out, her brother got it for a birthday present for her, so she's going to be reading all of them. So I'll talk to her and be like, hey, what do you think of these? It'll be interesting to see.
And it is interesting because obviously we are probably in like the 95th percentile of people who have read these books, but like there's a lot of people between us and like the 100th percentile, you know what I mean? Like that like Reddit. Know a lot more, are much Reddit, more invested,
right?
Yeah, Reddit, yeah.
They're a lot more invested.
Maybe we're only in the 80th percentile.
Are they invested, Ben?
They are. Yeah.
I think 95th is probably pretty fair for us. We know a lot, but we also don't know a lot.
Yeah,
90, like the 85th.
Just 90. Okay.
There's a lot of hardcore people.
When we were doing our review episode of like everything you need to know for Rhythm of War, I remember like spending so much time reading and like feeling like I knew, like I felt like, that meme where like you have brain like connection just going everywhere. And it's like amazing how quickly like you just kind of start to forget, and how like to Steven's point, like all those connections just become a lot more obscure even like after a couple of years, so that's it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay, I don't think we have time to go back to project number 2, so this is just going to be a Cosmere specific one.
Okay,
fair enough.
I'm really excited for project 2. I'm just putting it out there. I'm probably more excited than some of the Cosmere stuff.
We could do 5 minutes on it. Do you guys want to like pitch it to me?
Oh yeah, really short pitch. It's a Sanderson Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This guy wakes up. He doesn't really know what's going on. He has a few memories scattered here and there. And then he realizes that he remembers that he's bought a pocket dimension and that he's kind of like the god of this dimension type thing, but he doesn't have any powers and he's kind of like stuck with no resources in this dimension that he's the owner of.
It's kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide meets Harry Dresden meets Terry Pratchett, you know?
Yeah.
So it's going to be cool. It was so funny. After I read this, I was like, I felt so smart because like I remember this podcast they had talked about like the similar concept, and I like made this connection with like the guy that wrote the book, and I was like threw this theory up on Discord, and people were like, "Yeah, dude, he talks about that after like his reading it on YouTube." I was like, "Oh, come on!" Like all this like research I had done, and I just it was completely pointless.
I mean, at least it validates you're on the right track.
Yeah. Well, sure. But anyway,
I'm excited for it. I think you would like it, Stephen. I'm really excited.
So is it funny? It feels like this needs to be funny in order for it to really land.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, I guess. I think it will be funny. The tone is humorous. I think he'll do a good job. But I'm a fan.
Sanderson humor is just so hit and miss for me. I've been rereading Miss Mornera too. I'm almost finished with Alloy of Law, and I actually thought it was pretty funny, like funnier than I remembered, because I remember it when I first read it, thinking it was kind of cheesy. But then there are some other things that I still am pretty solidly convinced is just cheesy and not that funny. But some people love all of his humor.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that there's going to be definitely some situational humor in here that is going to need to land.
I think what he needs to do is let Joe Abercrombie read through his book and just offer 5 suggestions where he gets to write a paragraph. And then I think that would elevate Sanderson's writing like so much. That's what I'm convinced of. If you could just let Abercrombie go add strategic 5 paragraphs throughout.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be crazy if Abercrombie becomes Sanderson's like line editor.
That's just all I'm saying. Abercrombie's humor is top notch. I love it so much.
Throw in some Butcher too for this type of style. I think would work.
Yeah. Maybe Butcher, maybe Jim Butcher's son should become Sanderson's apprentice, because he just
did you see? Jim Butcher's son is now published, or he will be coming out with his first book later this year.
There you go.
Just don't have a Molly in there.
Well, fantasy news preview.
Real fast.
Nice. Okay. So that's our coverage of the secret projects. Let us know what you think. If you want to chat with us more, you can do that on Discord. Links to join Discord will be in the description below. And the sad thing about all of this is these books don't come out until early next year. We're still 9-8 months away from the first one. But, it'll give us, there's going to be a lot of content, a lot of Sanderson content next year, starting with the Lost Metal coming out later this year in November.
Super excited.
All right.
Cool. Rolling into that. See you guys later.
Thanks. See you guys.